Hello everyone, welcome to the final meeting of Survivor Media Review Project. Today we are so happy because we have honorable guests. Our guest is Julian McDougall from England. Welcome, we are so happy to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we have other honorable guests. We have Sevgi Yılmaz from Nevşehir, Özlem Ünal from Bartın, Elif Fergani from Düzce, Sevinç Özdemir from Kars, Sevgi Avcı from Ağrı, and Medine Güney from Osmaniye. And they want to welcome you, dear Julian. Sevgi teacher, we can start with you.
Which Sevgi?
Sevgi Yılmaz is here?
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part of that.
Dear Julian, we have other guests and they want to welcome you. So I give word to them. Yes, Sevgi Yılmaz teacher. She's not here. Then Sevgi Avcı teacher, could you say?
Yeah, of course. Hello from Ağrı. I am ambassador of Ağrı, which placed in east of Turkey. We are quite happy to have you here. You are very welcomed. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Quite happy.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, as far as I know, you are coming, you are joining from Scotland. Am I right?
No, I'm not from Scotland. My name is Scottish.
All right. That's why.
I'm from England, but I do have a Scottish name.
I have been there for 5.5 years. That's why I asked you.
Yeah, sure. Well spotted.
All right. Thank you.
And Özlem Ünal from Bartın. Özlem teacher, yes.
Thank you, Tuba. Hi, Mr. McDougall and my dear friends and lovely students. I'm Özlem, Itimenik Ambassador of Bartın. Bartın is in the north of Turkey in Black Sea region. It's a great pleasure for me to be with you. I would thank you all kindly inviting us to this great evening. Thank you all.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure, Özlem, to be with you today.
And Elif Fergani from Düzce.
Hi to all, good evening. Can you hear me, Tuba?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm outside playing with my son. So you can see the clouds and the trees around me. Also, sorry for the external sound. I'm very happy to be invited to this to your project's final webinar, and also glad to see you here, Mr. McDougall. This project has, I think, had many important guests like you, Mr. Dougall, and I'm highly delighted to be part of this closing one. I think the name of the project, I think, Survivor, huh?
Right.
Is this the one that we have watched from the TV Survivor? It sounds like a song, but this one is media review, I think. And you have all worked hard.
Thank you.
I'm looking at my son.
Okay.
And you have done a great job of raising awareness of media literacy, and of course you have made a great difference, and I wish you luck in the quality label process, and I hope you will have both the national quality and the European quality.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So thank you.
The other guest is Sevinç Özdemir from Kars.
Hello, everybody from the very east of Turkey, Kars.
Hello.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I had the opportunity to follow your project and to take part in some of your webinars with very honored guests. And thank you for inviting me again for this closure. Mr. Julian McDougall, welcome. You did a very great job, dear friends. You and your students did a very great job. I wish you all good luck, and thank you very much. See you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Best wishes to cars.
And now, Burhan teacher, could you share the biography of Julian McDougall?
Okay, but before start, I want to say something. I want to ask a question, Mr. Professor. Professor, my name is Burhan. I am an ICT teacher. It's a joke. Who is more handsome? You or me?
Who is more handsome, you or me? Well,
I think you are
clearly you.
very handsome.
He says clearly
thank
you,
you.
Burhan.
Thank you for webinar.
Dear Professor,
I'm
actually he
sharing my-
voted for you before the webinar. That's why he asked.
My vote was for you.
I am sharing your, wait a minute, please.
Okay. Dear
Now.
Professor, before you, we have four guests from USA, and all of our students can understand, and they ask several questions. So we trust them. We think that they will understand your presentation. And I want to introduce you. Professor Julian McDougall is a professor in media and education, head of the Center for Excellence in Media Practice, and principal fellow of Advanced ATE. He runs the professional doctorate in creative and media education at Bournemouth University and convenes the annual International Media Education Summit. In the field of media education, he is the author of a range over 100 books, articles, chapters, and research reports, and has provided numerous research projects for external funders, charities, and non-profit organizations, including European Union, European Commission, British Council, Arts and Humanities Research Council, ECRC, and EPCRS, Samsung, the United Kingdom Literacy Association, UK Government, DCMS, US Embassy, and ITV. He has given keynote speech and joined invited expert panels on media education and media literacy in over 20 countries. He is the co-educator of Russell Research in the Media Literacy and Education book series. He was a founder editor of the Media Education Research Journal and edited Media Practice and Education from 2014 to 20. Now, floor is yours. We are honored that you are here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So before I share my screen, I'll just explain what's going to happen. I'm going to share with you some slides about media literacy in general, and then I'm going to ask you to interact with me in an activity where we watch a film clip and talk about our media literacy with regard to the clip. I should finish after 45 minutes, so there should be some time for conversation. I will keep my eye on the chat if I can, but we'll have all the questions, I think, at the end. I have to go in and out of my slides to show the video, so sometimes I may ask you to be patient for 30 seconds while I swap over from one screen to another. Okay, so.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Share.
Yep.
Can you now see some slides?
Yeah, but
No.
yes,
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 Professor.
now.
And are they now full screen?
Yes.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So the title of my talk is Media Literacy and Disinformation and Fake News. In the UK, we call this Media Studies. So you can see there, there's a book on fake news versus media studies. It's the same thing. You may also have heard people talking about digital literacy. So for now, these are all the same thing. It's critical thinking with media, critical engagement with media, and critical engagement with digital media as well, media literacy. And what I'm going to suggest to you is that if we have critical media literacy, then we are less vulnerable to disinformation, more resilient to fake news. We are more able as citizens to have a critical response to all of the media and all of the information that we receive, and the media and information that we produce ourselves as well. So this is really about taking back control of our mindset, of being able to enjoy media, make media, be completely immersed in digital media in our lives, but in a way that is critical and able to differentiate, able to be critically aware as well. On the screen now, you can see the 5 A's of media literacy. And this is taken from the work of Paul Michailidis, who works at Emerson in the US, but also directs the Salzburg Media Literacy Forum. And it's the best, I think, model of media literacy that covers all of the things I want to talk about today. So there are 5 A's: access, awareness, assessment, appreciation, and action. So going through these 5 A's, the first one is access. Now, access to media doesn't just mean having, a computer, a phone, broadband access. It means having access to media so that you can be fully engaged in a way that is critical and active. But of course, it has to begin with technological access, and it has to begin with equipment so that you can actually be part of the media world in the first place. As I'm sure you are aware, when we talk about the connected global media world, we're really talking about less than half of the world, and there are huge parts of the world where people do not have access to media. So we have to be careful when we talk about media access as being global or universal. But those of us that are able to connect, as we are today, with each other through digital media, who are able to download, access, live stream, enjoy, highly technological media, we have that access. That is, of course, the entry point. Once you have access there, you need awareness. And awareness involves being aware of where the media that you are engaging with comes from, who has made it, whether it's regulated, who owns the platform or the production company, who is monitoring the social media platform, where does it come from, what's the context in which it was produced and circulated, and what kind of credibility does this content or this information have. So credibility doesn't mean true or false. It means who is producing this, and are they qualified to share this? Are they in the position they need to be sharing the information? Then we move on to assessment. So once you have access and once you're aware of the source, assessment is really about thinking of media as a representational phenomenon. The word media originally comes from the idea of being in between, medium, in between reality and us. So whether you are looking at a Facebook post, reading an online news article, watching a Hollywood film, watching a music video, producing a meme, or watching a football match in the European Championships that are about to start, whenever you are engaging with media, you are not accessing the real thing. You're not accessing reality. You're accessing a representation of reality through a medium. That's what we mean by media. So assessment is about thinking about how this media that we're engaging with is representing the world, representing people, representing events, and representing issues. So even thinking about an example of a football match, if England and Turkey both qualify for the later stages of the European Championships and we watch the game, those of you in Turkey will be watching the match filmed through Turkish media company. There would be commentators and experts who would be talking about the match from the Turkish team's point of view, and I would be experiencing the same thing from the English team's point of view. Unless we are at the football match itself, we can't see what's happening outside of the camera, and we can't change the commentary. and we can't decide what replays we see. So even something like a football match, a live event, is still being represented through media. Obviously, with a news story, we've got to look at how the journalists and how the broadcaster or how the newspaper are presenting the information about the news events that are being represented. But even a fictional television program, a Netflix drama, you're still getting ideas about people in the world who are being represented through the fiction. So once we have access, once we have awareness, once we can assess representation, we then move on to a much bigger picture, much broader idea about appreciating the need for there to be diversity, multiple voices, dialogue between different points of view, and various voices being heard online and in all media spaces. So that's when we start to think across all the media we're consuming, how many different points of view are we interpreting with and interacting with? Who gets to speak? Who gets to be heard? Have we got particular groups that are dominating things and other groups that are being left out? Have we got sufficiently diverse conversation about the world through our media? And finally, we learn best by being involved. We learn best by being active. So once we have access, awareness, assessment, and appreciation, to be fully media literate, then we need to take action. We need to produce our own media or interact with media in a way that means we are fully active citizens in the media world, part of the dialogue, part of the media conversation. Okay, so those are the 5 A's of media literacy. And I want to start by talking about awareness today. And I always like to use this image, which is a painting by the French artist Magritte from a very long time ago. And it has nothing to do with Netflix or fake news or social media or Hollywood or anything I've been talking about so far. It's a painting of a pipe. In France at the time, lots of people would have been using pipes like this to smoke tobacco. So it would have been a very common, familiar image to people in France at the time. But the artist Magritte has written underneath the pipe the words, "This is not a pipe." And the reason why I like to use this image is because it reminds us that that is not a pipe, that is a painting of a pipe. Even when you take a selfie, it's a picture of you, but it's not you. Once you look at the selfie, you might like it, you might want to share it, you might not like how you look in it, so you might delete it. You might even crop it or filter it or change it to change the representation of yourself. So it's not you, it's a representation of yourself, and you will have a response to it that's either positive or negative. Same with everything, same with all images, all media. We have to be aware that what we're looking at is not the real thing. It's a representation of the real thing. It's not a pipe, it's not you. A news story is not the real event. The football match is not the real match. It's a media representation of the football match, even if it's live. So I always like to come back to this Magritte painting to introduce this idea of media awareness. Okay. We are moving through now to the activity that I would like you to take part in. And it's around this film, Super Size Me. And what I'm going to do now is stop sharing so I can come out of these slides and move into the video. So just bear with me for a second. Okay, wait a second. Okay. I did embed this video, but for some reason it's not there when I went back. So I'll share again now. Are you now seeing an image that says day 2?
Yeah, we see.
Excellent. I'll make this full screen. Just a moment. Okay, so Super Size Me is a film made by Morgan Spurlock. And in the film, Morgan Spurlock, it's a documentary. It's quite a long time ago now. He decides he's only going to eat McDonald's food for, I think, 6 weeks. And he's doing this as an experiment. And the experiment is to see how bad McDonald's food is for you if you only eat it. Of course, we would expect McDonald's food to be bad for us if we only ate McDonald's food for 6 weeks. But this documentary is him going on this journey to show us just how bad it is. The rules are he can only eat food from the McDonald's menu and nothing else for 6 weeks. And every time he goes into a McDonald's and they ask him if he wants to supersize, he has to say yes. You are about to see him go into McDonald's and be asked to supersize for the first time. The first time you watch this, all I want you to do is to think about what happens. Nothing else. Watch it, enjoy it, and then afterwards I'm going to ask you to tell me what happens. But I have to put a warning in there. If any of you are upset by the sight of somebody being sick, then you should be warned that at the end of this clip, that happens. You will know it's about to happen. It will be quite obvious, but I just want to warn you. Right at the end of this clip, there is that image coming your way. Here we go.
Yeah, can I get the double quarter pounder with cheese meal? I think I'm gonna have to go supersize. Look at that Coke. That barely fits in there. I'm gonna look at that. Look at how big that thing is. Look how big that French fry is. That thing is like 4 feet tall. Double quarter pounder with cheese. More calories than anything. There it is. A little bit of heaven. That's a lot of food, man. Hey, look. You get all that supersized stuff? That stuff that's supersized? Here. Look at that. I just put it, but I'm not even halfway done with those fries. I'm even halfway. It's like a workout. Now's the time of the meal when you start getting the McStomach ache. You start getting the McTummy, you get the McGurgles in there, you get the McBrick, and you get the McStomach ache. Right now I got some McGas that's rocking. My arms, you sweating there? My arms, I feel like I got some McSweats going. My arms got the McTwitches going in here from all the sugars going in my body right now. I'm feeling a little bit crazy. Oh. Just give me a minute. Pure McDonald's heaven. This is gonna be you like after every meal. Oh. I'm dying.
Okay. Sorry about that. I did warn you. Okay. So I just want to ask you the question. Anyone can answer this. What happened? What did we just see happen? It's not a difficult question. It's not trying to catch you out. Just tell me what happened.
Yes, our students who wants to answer what happened in the video. You can hands up.
Me?
Oh yes, Venera, please.
What I understand is supersize means a great juice and a long fries, but not the burger. And then a 6 fish. I thought initially The supersize means everything in the meal, but supersize means only the drinks and only the fries. It's all that I understood from the video. And the the whole video made me sick.
Thank you. And Zeynep Akbak from Turkey. Zeynep.
I don't really understand the video, but it's a random ads. Just a random crazy ads. Also, I'm asking the animator of the cameraman of this. Why would you make this video? This is crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, good. I mean, that's an interesting question. But I think at this point, in terms of our media literacy, I mean, you're kind of ahead of me a little bit there with that question, but I think what most of us would accept that even if it's crazy, whatever it means by supersize, what we saw happen was a guy drives into a McDonald's, he orders a supersized meal, he eats the supersized meal. It's so huge that he finds it really difficult to eat it. And at the end, he's eaten so much and he's struggling so much that it makes him sick. And it made other people feel sick who were watching it as well. And yes, it's crazy as well. But that's right. Yeah. So we saw that happen. We saw this guy eat a supersized meal and then we saw him be sick. Okay.
Oh my God. Oh, okay.
I want now to show it you for a second time. And this time I want you to think about the editing. Is that word need to be translated, or is that a word that everybody understands? The way that the film is edited.
Okay, I think they will understand.
Okay, so this time when you watch it, just think about the editing, right? How is it cut? How is it pieced together for the audience? Here we go.
Yeah, can I get the double quarter pounder with cheese meal? I think I'm gonna have to go supersize. Look at that. Look at that Coke. That barely fits in there. I'm gonna look at that. Look at how big that thing is. Look how big that French fry is. That thing is like 4 feet tall. Double quarter pounder with cheese. More calories than anything. There it is. A little bit of heaven.
Okay, so you notice this now for the first time, it's saying 5 minutes later, right? So 5 minutes of what happens, we're not going to see.
That's a lot of food, man. Hey, look. Supersize stuff? Stuff with supersize? Man, look at that. I just put it, but I'm not even halfway done with those fries. I'm even halfway. It's like a workout.
Okay, so now we're going to miss another 10 minutes. So 10 minutes later on the screen.
Now's the time of the meal when you start getting the McStomach ache. You start getting the McTummy, you get the McGurgles in there, you get the McBrick, and you get the McStomach ache. Right now I got some McGas that's rocking. My arms, you straighten up? My arms, I feel like I got some McSweats going. My arms got the McTwitches going in here from all the sugars going in my body right now. I'm feeling a little bit crazy. Oh.
Okay, another 15 minutes now.
Just give me a minute. Pure McDonald heaven. This is gonna be you like after every meal. Oh, I'm dying.
Okay, now I'm sorry, this is really gross, but
Julian, can I start?
yeah, sure.
Yes. First of all, it focuses on the name of McDonald's in the beginning of the video. So we are sure that it's about McDonald's. But actually, we cannot see the time between. So we are not sure that it is a real documentary or just they are pretending. And we don't see how he sleeps or how he has suffering. We don't see, just we see the results. So normally I know this documentary, but this is the first time I watch from this media site. So it is really interesting for me. Now I am questioning, is it real or just they are pretending or fake?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I mean, I was just about to say, and again, another warning, what you've just said, but let's watch it. So when he is sick, let's just think, we're going to watch it again and see what we actually see. Okay, here we go. Right, now that's another shot, okay? It looks like it's the same shot, the camera moving out, but it's actually another shot. It's a cut to a different shot. So sorry about this, but here we go again. Okay. So you've made some really good points there. So what we noticed the second time is the process of editing actually removes 5, then 10, then 15, then 22. So that's 22, 37, 40, 52 minutes, right? We didn't see. I think that's quite a long time to eat that meal, to be honest, but you know, maybe he found it so difficult, but that whole meal took him nearly an hour, but we only saw, how long is this clip? 2 minutes 57. So we only saw nearly 3 minutes of that whole hour. Now, we're not saying it's a lie. We're not saying it's fake. We don't know. But what we know from that, looking at it this way now, is that whenever we are engaging in media, there's quite a lot of trust. Things are edited all the time, so they take out detail that would be boring for us or would take too long. But it does, of course, mean that when we asked this question the first time, what did you see? And everybody says, we saw a man going to McDonald's, eat a meal, and he was sick. After we watch it the second time, we're not really so sure what we've seen. And when we think about it in more detail, what we've actually seen is a man going to a restaurant, a drive-through, order a meal, eat maybe 4 mouthfuls. He talked a lot about how big the meal was. Then we see him chewing some food, taking a drink. Then we see him feeling ill. Then we see him lean across. Then we see some sick. And what we do is we assume or we trust the story that's happening off screen. Okay. Again, I'm not saying it's true or false. I'm not saying it's fake news. What I'm saying is that when we look at things a second time, as media literate people, we start to realize how things are representing the world in different ways for particular points of view. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Go back to my slides.
Actually, I watched this video 3 or 4 years ago. Actually, I didn't know anything about the media literacy that time. And it says documentary, so I directly trust the video. I believe that what happened in the video all are true. And really, I have some bad ideas about McDonald's in those days. But now you make us remind, please be careful about the editing. Then I'm questioning the video.
Excellent, great. Thank you. Are you seeing my slides again now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so what we've just done is we've watched the extract and see what happens. We concentrated this time on the editing. And now we've been thinking about what we really see happen. So this is the process that we call assessment in media literacy. We're assessing what we are watching, what we are listening to, what we are reading, and we're thinking more critically about how the information, how the events, how the reality is being represented to us in different ways. So if we go back to the 5 A's, and we think about the Super Size Me extract, first of all, you've got to have access to media. So you either got to be able to see this film at a cinema, or you've got to be able to see the video streamed in some way. You've got to have access. This kind of access these days is pretty easy for most of us. So most of us are in a position where if we wanted to see Super Size Me, we could see it quite easily through the internet. We've got to have that access. You then need to have the awareness. In this case, we need to know the guy who made the film, why he made it, the fact that it's a documentary, the fact that he took part in this experiment, and that he had this desire to portray a particular series of events around food, and in this case, fast food and McDonald's. Then we start to assess how the documentary is portraying, McDonald's food, Super Size Me meals, etc. And we've just done that by having the conversation and watching the video a couple of times. And it's the editing that's the really important thing. In terms of appreciating the diversity of information, collaboration, and voices, you may be aware that as a result of this film, McDonald's actually had a legal case about it, and they actually introduced a series of healthy meals to the menu. So this film was kind of important in raising awareness about how unhealthy McDonald's food is. But they also quite reasonably responded by saying, we don't expect people to only eat food from our menu. We expect people to come here, for a treat, for an experience. We're not expecting it to be your whole diet. And of course, that isn't mentioned in the film. So even in a film like this, where you may feel like the information is good and it's coming from a good perspective to raise our awareness of health, there isn't that dialogue in the text itself, in the media itself. There isn't that diversity. Action we'll come to later. We don't move into action at this stage, but you can, of course, if you're unhappy about the way media represents things, either get involved in responding, or you can make your own media, or people increasingly now modify media, remix, produce memes, all those kinds of things as well, which we'll come to shortly. Okay, so when we move on to appreciation of diversity, appreciation of voices heard and voices not heard in media, we're really asking 5 questions about any media that we engage with. Who is being represented in this media? What is being represented? So people and things, issues and events. Who's being represented? What's being represented? How are these things being represented? By who are these things being represented? Who is making the media? Who is representing things and people in the media? And why are they representing people and things in these ways? And I think it's really useful to get a sense of the bigger picture, the whole picture of media literacy in terms of appreciation, to go back to the work of Stuart Hall. So the next video I'm going to show you is a video about the work of Stuart Hall. So let me move out of this one. I will just find my next video. Just bear with me for a second. It shouldn't take too long. Here it is. Okay, share again. Okay, are you seeing this video now on the screen?
Yeah.
Is it full screen?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
We live in a world saturated with media. We see our reality through them, but these are not transparent operations. They involve the workings of power. Stuart Hall was an outsider, born in colonial Jamaica, educated in Oxford. He was out of place in both. He left academia, the literary canon, high culture, to become an intellectual of mass culture. What he did was controversial. He was looking at the power of mainstream media in representing race, gender, class, ethnicity, religion. Hall said those discourses are not innocent, that hidden in mass media is ideology. The media theorist's job is to find that ideology, expose it, critique it. The media's racialization of crime, the patriarchal narratives on gender, the othering of immigrants, Muslims, the poor. The media are active agents in this process. But what of the masses? The audience is watching. Hall broke with the presumption that the masses are dumb, passive. In fact, he questioned who the faceless masses even are. Some may accept the dominant meanings embedded in the media. Some may negotiate them. Others outright reject them. Where other media theorists argued that messages are imposed on people from above, Hall said power is not as simple as that. He saw pockets of resistance that undermine dominant media narratives. Think of the bloggers in Tunisia, the graffiti artists of Brazil, Black Lives Matter. But Hall went further. He also told us to seek out stories elsewhere, in the lowly, despised spaces of knowledge. The gossip mags, the soap opera, the music videos. If you want to understand society, then maybe avoid the news, those formalized spaces that house official discourse. Find different stories, different perspectives, different realities.
Okay, I'm going to go straight back into my slides now. Wait a second, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. Am I still sharing? No, hold on.
No, not yet.
No.
Yeah, now we can see the slides.
Great. Wait for it loads again from my screen. Okay, so appreciation of media and critical appreciation is really the things that were in that video about Stuart Hall's work. Thinking all the time, questioning all the time how things are being represented. Thinking about whether the news is really representing things, accurately, or whether you need different perspectives, different voices. So if we combine the two things, in the Super Size Me clip, we were raising our awareness of how media are constructed for particular points of view. And in the Stuart Hall video, we're thinking more bigger picture about the role of media in society and how we need to make sure that we are engaging with diverse sources of information and thinking a lot about points of view and voices and avoiding a particular kind of agenda that's coming through media to us. Put the two things together and we are moving towards the fifth of the A's, which is action. And there are two ways in which we can be active as media literate people. The first one is by always being critical in our thinking, which means we stop and think about all media, not just whether media is true or fake, but always thinking who is representing what, how are they representing things and why, and for what purpose and with what message.
That's it.
All media then is a kind of propaganda. How does the media you're engaging with activate emotions? How does it appeal to particular groups of people? How does it simplify information? How does it represent some things and some people as right and normal, and other things and other people as wrong or strange? And there are two resources I would recommend for this. One is the Smart EU project, and the website is now available, which is a social media resilience toolkit, which aims to give us resilience to this kind of misinformation that we might be vulnerable to in social media spaces. And then Renee Hobbs' work, Mind Over Media, Propaganda Education for a Digital Age. Also, there is a website there where you can actually share and upload content yourself, and you can react to other people's, which again, thinks about all media, all information as a kind of propaganda. So those are two resources that I would recommend you can use, both online and both free to access currently. So this is the critical thinking aspect of the action A, the last A, the fifth A, action. But to take it further, what we need to do, of course, is get involved. Because if you think about it, you wouldn't spend your life being literate with spoken words, written words, without ever writing or speaking yourself. You would always take action. So when we're involved in the world as literate people, we're listening to other people use language, and we're using language ourselves. We read and we write. So to take action with media literacy, there are two ways to do it. Firstly, take any opportunities that you have in your lives to develop your technical and creative media skills. They may be opportunities you have in education, they may be outside of education, maybe projects like e-twinning, but any possibilities there are for you to improve your technical and creative skills, you should take, because this is the 21st century literacy that we need to be full citizens. And then secondly, once you have those skills, we need to think about how we can use them to make media as active citizens, to reach others and to improve our communities. So if you are unhappy about the way that your community is represented in media, then you should make your own media to address that balance. You should use media to get more involved as a citizen in the world. And again, this goes back to Paul Mihailidis' work, who I spoke about earlier as being the person who designed the 5 A's. He's also working a lot in the US on community media literacy projects and civic engagement projects with others, people like Belina Abra as well, colleague of Paul's, also from America, but also lots of international media literacy practitioners across the world, across Europe, Turkey, US, UK, all over the place as well. And if people want to follow up with me, I can share lots of other examples of this kind of work. Today was very much a focus on introducing a framework, but of course for each of the 5 A's there are lots and lots of resources, lots of projects and activities I could also share as well. So that's my introduction to the 5 A's of critical media literacy, with 2 videos to illustrate and the Supersize Me activity to get us thinking. And my argument here is that if we want to be more resilient to misinformation and fake news, if we're more critical media literate people in the first place, we're less likely to be vulnerable, we're more likely to be resilient, rather than trying to deal with the problem after it's happened. We're all living through a pandemic. So to use that context for this purpose, it's like the difference between a vaccine and a cure. You know, if you use critical media literacy to vaccinate the population, they will have more antibodies, they will be more resilient, they will be less likely to catch the virus, I suppose. Okay. So this is the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you.
For any questions?
Question our students want to ask you if you are ready.
Of course.
Yes, we will start with Şevval. Şevval, could you open your microphone and camera, please?
Okay. Hi, first, thanks for coming. My name is Şevval. I'm from Osmaniye Şehit Bildim Science and Art Center. And my question is, should we always think critically about a piece of news?
Yeah, absolutely. You should be critical about news. So I read a newspaper in the UK called the Guardian newspaper, right? And I believe that the Guardian newspaper is representing the world, you know, in an accurate way. I trust it. I get my news from there, and I think of it as being news which is more honest, open, diverse. But of course, I only think that because I have particular perspectives myself. Okay, so I can be reflective about that, and I can think, okay, so the Guardian newspaper is reporting this event differently from this other newspaper. Just because I agree with it doesn't mean it's necessarily more true. It means it's appealing to my sense of the world. So critical media literacy, again, is not about saying, oh, that's true, that's false, that's fake, that's real. It's saying, okay, I think this is right, I accept this, but of course, you know, I accept this because I have a view of these things myself. And then what you should also do is look at other news sources that you might not agree with and compare, and then you get that kind of critical perspective. Again, not about thinking things are true or false, right or wrong, that everything is representing the world in a different way from a particular point of view. Good question.
Thank you.
Thanks for answering my question.
And Arda from Turkey. Arda. Arda, I think you are here, but yes.
I'm here. Hi, I'm Taner Ardadaş from Yenişehir Bilsem. I want to ask you something.
Sure.
My question is, how can we integrate media literacy in lessons?
Yeah, great question. So it depends on your curriculum, right? So it depends on what you have to do in school, but the fact that your teachers are here means, of course, there's an interest in it. So I think that rather than have a media literacy class that's separate, what you should be doing all the time is thinking about whatever subject you're doing, whether it's science, whether it's history, how are these things represented in our media today? So you add what I've done in this session, the kind of critical awareness of the media, you add it into everything. So if you think about some school subjects, right? I mean, history is one, of course, where everything we understand about the past, well, not everything, but the way in which we understand the past is often through media in the present day. Okay, so we will have seen films, TV programs that are set in historical periods, and our understanding of those historical periods will partly come from media. If you think about science, I mean, again, the pandemic has made this really obvious, but all of our information at the moment about this virus and vaccines and lockdowns, it's all coming from the way that what the scientists say is represented in the media. And sometimes what the scientists say and what the politicians say isn't the same. So we're really thinking about science in new ways. And that's all coming through media. It's not just coming from news media, it's coming a lot from Facebook and social media, and that's causing lots of problems, isn't it? Because people can say things about vaccines on Facebook, without really being kind of regulated. Then if you think about physical education, even something like that, I've talked about sport and the way that's represented. So you can do it in every subject by just adding that dimension of, okay, this thing we're learning, how is the media representing that? And then from that, you can then go into it may be outside of the curriculum, but you can have a full-on kind of media literacy course as well, where you take those ideas and then start thinking more about the kind of some of the theories I've dealt with today.
Okay. Thank you. Actually,
Thank you for answering my question.
No problem. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, teachers, actually, we watch a lot of videos and we use a lot of photos. I think from now on, we will careful about who prepares, what prepares. We will be more focused. And now we have few more questions. Rabia, you can ask.
Hello, I'm Ecin Rabia Yıldız from Mersin. I'm 12 years old and I study in Yenişehir Science and Art Center. Welcome to our project. My question is, what is the relationship between media literacy and critical thinking?
Wow. That's a great question. So the relationship is, I can explain this, I hope quite clearly. So you can be media literate without being critical, okay? Because when you think about literacy, it really means the ability to understand, the ability to read and write, or with media, it's the ability to enjoy media and understand it, okay? You could do that really uncritically. You could read lots of Facebook posts, you could watch loads of Netflix, you could watch lots of news, and you could accept all of it. And you would still be media literate because you would be able to understand it. But critical media literacy is when you start asking the kinds of questions that we've talked about today. Where's it coming from? What's the point of view? How is it being represented? And then the third level is what you use it for. So it's, first of all, being media literate, understanding it. Secondly, it's critical media literacy, thinking about it. Thirdly, it's putting it into action to make your own media, to be part of it, to put things into practice as well. So 3 levels, I think. So the critical part is the second level. That's a fantastic question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Halil.
Hi, I am Halil Ibrahim Alabiel from Osmaniye Şehit Bildim Science and Art Center. My question is, does the media have more positive or negative aspects?
More positive. I mean, you know, the problem with doing a session like this is it can sound very much like the media is bad and we all have to be, but it's not. I mean, you know, with the fact that we're talking now from all these countries, you know, the fact that we have, I mean, I would never have got through this pandemic if it wasn't for all the media content available. You know, we could all be locked down and still have the internet and share things. And, you know, young people like you have got all these amazing opportunities to have a voice, to create, to share your work with audiences. You know, you can make a TikTok video now and you can have millions of people enjoying it within, like, that's amazing. But with those opportunities come these dangers, right? And the dangers are, you know, there's so much stuff, it's so instant. You know, where's it coming from? How do we make sense of it? So definitely more positives than negatives, but we have to have that balance so we can, you know, make the world a better place by being able to resist media when it's doing us harm, I guess.
And who wants to ask questions? Could you hands up? Yes, Zeynep. Yes, Zeynep, you can ask.
Okay. Hello. I'm Zeynep Akbak from Yenişehir Science and Art Center. My question is, how could we stop fake news and what do you think about it?
Another great question. Wow,
Thank you.
How can we stop it? We can't. That's the problem. It would be crazy to say we can stop it. But my argument is we make ourselves better prepared for it through being critical by having media literacy. So, you know, eventually, if the whole world was critically media literate, then fake news would die out because nobody would believe it. But you won't stop it while there are still people who are believing it, right? So what we need to do is work hard together to be critical, to question, to have those things I've talked about, awareness, appreciation, and then eventually there won't be enough people left to believe fake news for it to be worth pursuing. I mean, I'm in the UK and we have this thing called Brexit, and, you know, it's probably now kind of accepted amongst the population that it was probably quite a bad thing and lots of the things that people believed haven't happened. So you would hope that in time, the next time something like that comes along, people will think, oh, hang on, you know, those things weren't true. But the challenge for those of us that are involved in media literacy is to kind of make that happen in the moment rather than later. So to answer your fantastic question, we can't stop it, but we can fight back against it by having these critical ways of thinking. And it's difficult in social media. It's easier when it's a documentary like I showed you, or when it's a newspaper, or when it's like, you know, professional media. But when it's somebody just sharing something on Facebook or Twitter quickly with you, it's very hard to take a step back and think this critically. So I do think it's a challenge.
And the last question, I think Asme Hayal will ask.
Hi, my name is Asma Hayal and I'm from Mersin. My question is media the only app app that is dangerous?
So I didn't quite, is media the only something that's dangerous?
Yes, dangerous.
Yes.
I mean, again, it's like media is people, right? So what's happening is people are using media to be dangerous. In itself, media is not dangerous. It's like, you know, you wouldn't have said 100 years ago, you know, I think books are a really bad idea, right? But there are some books which are used to, you know, present the world in ways that we might not think are so positive. Same with media, same with everything. Positives and negatives, but it's not the media itself, it's the people. So I talk a lot as well about this thing called the uses of media literacy, and that's what I answered a previous question by saying, like, that's the third level. Level one is being media literate. Second level is being critically media literate. Third level is using it to make the world a better place. The dangerous part is when people use their media literacy to make the world a worse place. And if you think about it now, there are lots of people doing, you know, we probably all agree, really bad things, either for political reasons or commercial reasons, or, you know, people who are radicalizing other people, all those kinds of bad things, or cyber bullies, or they are all media literate, but they're just using that media literacy in dangerous ways. So what we need to do is, again, fight back against that by using media literacy ourselves for good things.
Thank you. I think we have one more.
Thank you for answering.
Yeah,
No
Julian
problem.
from Jordan. Julian, you can ask.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Julian from Jordan. My question is, how can we tell true news from fake news?
How can we tell real news from fake news?
Yeah.
So again, two levels. There are resources and tools online you can use to just simply verify things. You can use source verification tools. You can use something called image reverse, which takes an image apart to see whether it was really produced in the way in which you think. There are those kinds of things you can do. And if you have professionals working with you in your school, maybe in libraries, or your teachers, you can go to them and say, look at this, is this real? Where does it come from? So you can do those things reactively, as I've said, or you can, as I keep saying again, you can kind of have that more critical mindset through media literacy that then means you're more likely to spot things that are fake in the first place. It's really hard and it's really fast and quick, and so taking a step back is really difficult. But, you know, all I would say at this stage, if you've only just started thinking about this, is if you think about what we did with that film clip, which wasn't anything very sinister or dangerous, it was just a guy eating a burger, right? But we stopped it, we looked again, and we said, okay, well, yes, he ate this burger, but we didn't see all of it. So any information, any news, just stop and think, who's producing it? Where's it coming from? What's it trying to persuade me? You know, and then if you do that more times than not, you'll spot the fake stuff because it will become obvious, you know, as you start to think more critically. But I'm not going to claim I can, you know, solve that problem here today. It's a long process, but another good question. Thank you.
And Chiara wants to ask something.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about what do you think about the corruption of the media? For example, when media try to cover up some important news to maybe not have it, to maybe hide the real importance of that particular news to the public.
Yeah, so that's really difficult. And of course, there are, you know, let's face it, there are different parts of the world where this is happening more, and there are parts of the world where it's easier to get balance. So that's something that's important to say. But wherever you are in the world, I think this process of, you know, I talked about diversity and voices. So if you're able to always look at official media, also responses to official media from other groups of people, maybe in social media spaces. So just surround yourself with different perspectives. Then you are less likely to accept, you know, one particular point of view. Now, when you're talking about, you know, media corruption and journalists being, you're working under difficult conditions, you know, because of political interference, that's of course something that's very difficult to do much about directly through education. And of course it can be difficult to do that because education is also part of a, you know, a system as well. But I think the idea of checking media for kind of democratic balance wherever possible is the principle, at least, with which to kind of address that. But yeah, I mean, it's not something, an education system which is democratic and diverse and a media system which is democratic and diverse are not things we can always take for granted. It might be easier for me, you know, from where I am to say some of these things than it is in other parts of the world, I accept.
Thank you very much. Our students are so willing to ask question. Mehmet, this will be last question. I'm so sorry. Yes, Mehmet.
Why is fake news spreading so fast?
Oh.
Yeah, again, I mean, so I think there's three reasons. One is it makes money. So when we talk about fake news, sometimes we forget that the platforms where fake news is circulated, they need a lot of attention to particular posts in order to generate advertising revenue. So there is a business model which is successful when there's more fake news, because fake news generates lots and lots and lots and lots of attention, and that then leads to revenue from advertising. So when we talk about, you know, Google and Facebook and Twitter moderating their content, we have to remember that actually we're asking them to limit their own kind of profits a little bit by doing that. So that's difficult. Secondly, I think there have been in the last few years certain politicians in certain countries, including my own and including the US, who have more than other politicians in, you know, Western democracies in my lifetime actively sought to use opportunities to, let's say, present information in ways which are less balanced than others. I'm talking, of course, about Donald Trump, but also in the UK, you could say that about our Prime Minister Boris Johnson. So once you actually have a situation where things being true doesn't really matter as much as it used to, as long as people like what's being said, then that's a rich environment for fake news to spread. You know, Donald Trump's press person very famously talked about alternative facts when she was asked a question. And, you know, once you have somebody at that level, you know, in a country like America talking about alternative facts, that's a difficult space as well. And then I think finally, we are in difficult times, and we were in difficult times before the pandemic, because we had poverty and austerity, and we had, you know, lots of difficulties in the world, with people being very angry about things and feeling very, you know, ignored by politics in particular. And when you have that kind of environment and people are angry and people are less comfortable in their lives, then they are often wanting to blame somebody for things. And then fake news is another way, you know, it's another environment in which fake news can thrive. Again, speaking from the UK experience, we have a situation where the whole of our government is kind of billionaires. But nobody, and we have of course the royal family in the UK, but nobody really wants to kind of think about that. So what happens instead is we get lots of stories about, you know, migrants, and stories about people who are kind of cheating the benefit system. And, you know, these people are not really causing many problems, but it circulates and circulates, and that becomes, oh, that, you know, if only we could deal with that problem. So I think sometimes it's a distraction from things which are more difficult to solve. So those are the reasons, but I think being positive and optimistic, if young people like you, you know, you'll take over from the rest of us soon. And if you go about things the right way and have kind of, you know, good intentions and passion for being media literate and making the world a better place, then soon enough, you'll be the majority and you can make it all better.
Thank you very much. And we prepared a small surprise for you. Burhan teacher, the floor is yours.
Hi again, Mr. Professor. I make a collage from this webinar screenshot. I'm sharing my screen. Wait a minute. Are you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation again. This is the screenshots, this webinar. I am now zoom out, and this is the surprise of our project.
Oh, wow. Great. So don't believe everything you see at first.
So cool.
It's very, very impressive to do that in real time. Thank you very much. That's great.
I will share.
Professor, I will send this picture from to Özgen, and she will send you. Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you again.
And this is our certificate for you. We prepare. I will send you.
Thank you for joining us today.
No problem. And what great questions. I'm so impressed. Particularly, you know, because some of the audience are pretty young. They were amazing questions. So you should have great hopes with people. Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's why I send you email that I trust my students, they can understand you. And they are interested in media literacy. And they joined several webinars. They are now they know the subject very well, so they ask this kind of question. Thank you very much. Thanks for
Thank you for the invitation.
presentation.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you to you.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for information.
Bye.
Thank you for
Bye.
Bye.
information. That was awesome.
Zeynep.